Us today for the special called meeting of the State Board of Education. It is now 1:03 p.m. and I call this meeting to order. Casey Griffin on our staff will call the roll to establish a quorum. Mr. Griffin?
Mr. Cobbins,
Here.
Mr. Darnell, Mr. Eby,
Here.
Mr. Holt,
Here.
Dr. House, Mr. Jensen,
Here.
Mr. Mullenhour,
Here.
Mr. Morrow, Mr. Wells.
Here.
Madam Chairman,
Here.
Madam Chairman, I count 7 members present.
Thank you, Mr. Griffin. We do have a quorum and we are duly convened, and without objection, Mr. Nick Darnell is excused. Now we're going to move into our first item on the agenda, which is the reading of the Statement of Necessity by Miss Angie Sanders. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Pursuant to Tennessee Code Annotated 844-108B3, the Tennessee State Board of Education submits this determination of necessity for today's special called meeting. This meeting was called to consider a number of time-sensitive issues, including revisions to various state board rules to align with implementation of the Tennessee Investment in Student Achievement Act, or TISA, ahead of the 2023-24 school year, as well as approval of a new policy outlining the list of approved Category 2 and 3 private school accrediting agencies to ensure alignment with changes to recent rules. Due to the time-sensitive nature of the items on the board's agenda and due to the fact that board members reside across the state, it was determined that a physical quorum could not be assembled in Nashville for purposes of this special called meeting, and therefore that the meeting should be conducted electronically. Notice of this meeting was posted on the State Board of Education's website, along with the agenda and instructions for accessing this WebEx. With that, I'll turn it back over to you, Madam Chair.
Very good. Thank you very much. The next item is item 2, the approval or the adoption of the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
Move it. Warren Wells.
Mr. Wells provides the motion. Is there a second?
BB seconds.
Mr. Eby provides the second. Mr. Griffin, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Cobbins,
Aye.
Mr. Darnell, Mr. Eby,
Aye.
Mr. Holt,
Aye.
Mr. Jensen,
Aye.
Mr. Mullenhour,
Aye.
Mr. Morrow, Mr. Wells.
Aye.
Madam Chairman?
Aye.
Madam Chairman, you have 7 ayes.
The ayes have it and the motion is approved. Moving into agenda items 3, adoption of items on first reading. Items A through G will be presented by Ms. Mary Ann Dursky, and we'll take each one of those items and vote on them individually. So I will now turn it over to Ms. Mary Ann Dursky.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. The first rule that we're looking at is District and School Operations 0520-01-02. In the 2022 legislative session, Governor Lee and the Tennessee General Assembly passed the Tennessee Investment in Student Achievement Act, or TISA, which will transition the state to a student-based funding approach beginning with the 23-24 school year. Due to the passage of TISA, this item proposes changes to rule sections in the District and School Operations chapter to remove specific references to the Basic Education Program, or BEP, from the rule and to align the language with TISA. The rule sections being amended include approval of local education agencies, or LEAs, 0520-01-02-.01, alternative education, 0.09, homebound instruction, 0.10, and fiscal accountability standards, 0.13. The State Board staff will hold a rulemaking hearing between the first and second readings to collect public feedback. As required by Tennessee Code Annotated 49-1-212, the department prepared a fiscal analysis of this rule change that is proposed to the State Board of Education. This item has no financial impact on an LEA. The Department of Education recommends acceptance of this item on first reading. The State Board of Education staff concurs with this recommendation. The changes in this rule are truly just to remove references to the BEP and to replace it with language referring to the state's K-12 funding formula. With that being said, I am happy to take any questions, or if there is any discussion, to entertain that.
Are there any questions or comments for Ms. Dursky?
Madam Chair, Bob Eby.
Yes, Mr. Eby.
Yes, Ms. Dursky, in under 3C, it states the DOE will validate the funds that are being budgeted for eligible purposes and report to the State Board of Education those LEAs that fail this. But there's no time frame associated with when they'll report. It seems to me that there ought to be some time frame at what point in time that you would report to the state board. And I would propose that between first and second reading, we put something in there, maybe 30 days after notification to the LEA, or by the end of the month, October, something like that. I'd like to get your thoughts on that.
Yes, we'll be happy to look at that between the two readings. We had some discussion thinking that perhaps at the end of the fiscal year, after the close of the fiscal year, that might be an appropriate time. We check for the allowability both at the beginning of the year and then at the end of the year. And so that gives the LEAs time if they need to make any adjustments during the year as far as the use of funds. So following the close of the fiscal year end, we thought that might be an appropriate time to report anyone who had not been in compliance.
Okay,
We're happy to discuss that and to bring something at second reading.
great. I just think it's important to put some timeline that it just doesn't hang out there. So yeah, work with your staff and our staff and come up with something that makes sense. Thank you.
Happy to do so. Thank you.
Other comments or questions?
Madam Chair, this is Jordan Mullenhour.
Yes, Mr. Mullenhour.
Thank you. And this might be a question directed at Ms. Sanders. I just want to clarify under 13 subsection 2E, my understanding is, based on a conversation that you and I had, Angie, that that revision was going to be instituted, which results in that subsection being withdrawn, correct? In its entirety?
You're talking about 2E in section 0.13? Okay. Yes, that paragraph E is going to be deleted.
Got it. Just wanted to confirm that. Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve this item?
So moved.
Second.
I didn't hear who made the first motion. I apologize.
Sorry, this is Jordan Mullenhour.
Mr.
I
Mullenhour
make a
provides the
motion to approve.
motion. Okay, Mr. Mullenhour provides the motion. Who provided the second?
Daryl Cobbins.
Mr. Cobbins provides the second. Any other discussion? Mr. Griffin, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Cobbins,
Aye.
Mr. Darnell, Mr. Eby,
Aye.
Mr. Holt,
Aye.
Mr. Jensen, Mr. Jensen,
Aye.
Mr. Mullenhour,
Aye.
Mr. Morrow,
Aye.
Mr. Wells.
Aye.
Madam Chairman?
Aye.
Madam Chairman, you have 8 ayes.
The ayes have it and the motion is approved. Next item is B. Ms. Dursky?
This item pertains to the Education of Incarcerated Students rule. Again, due to the passage of TISA, this item proposes changes to the Education of Incarcerated Students rule, sections 0520-01-12-.03 and .05, to remove specific references to the Basic Education Program, or BEP. State Board staff will hold a rulemaking hearing between first and second readings to collect public feedback. The department prepared a fiscal analysis of this rule change and determined that this item has no financial impact on an LEA. The Department of Education recommends acceptance of this item on first reading. The State Board staff concurs with this recommendation. And again, the changes here are to remove references to the BEP and to clarify the funding. I'm happy to take any questions.
Questions or comments? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve item B?
Bob Eby, so moves.
Mr. Eby provides the motion. Is there a second?
Warren Wells will second.
Mr. Wells provides the second. Mr. Griffin, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Cobbins,
Aye.
Mr. Darnell, Mr. Eby,
Aye.
Mr. Holt,
Aye.
Mr. Jensen,
Aye.
Mr. Mullenhour,
Aye.
Mr. Morrow,
Aye.
Mr. Wells.
Aye.
Madam Chairman?
Aye.
Madam Chairman, you have 8 ayes.
The ayes have it and the motion is approved. Moving on to item C. Ms. Dursky?
Thank you. Due to the passage of TISA, this item proposes changes to the School and Student Health Services Rule, Section 0520-01-13-.01, to align the language to TISA. This item also removes language authorizing LEAs and public charter schools to adopt a remote instruction policy for students temporarily quarantined due to COVID-19. This language is specific to only the 2021-22 school year and does not apply to subsequent school years. State Board staff will hold a rulemaking hearing between first and final reading to collect public feedback. The department prepared a fiscal analysis of this rule change and determined that there was no financial impact on an LEA. The Department of Education recommends acceptance of this item on first reading. The State Board of Education staff concurs with the recommendation. Are there any questions? Happy to take them.
Questions or comments? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve item C?
So moved. Nate.
Mr. Morrow provides the motion. Is there a second?
Second, Ryan.
Mr. Holt provides the second. Mr. Griffin, please call the roll.
Mr. Cobbins,
Aye.
Mr. Darnell, Mr. Eby,
Aye.
Mr. Holt,
Aye.
Mr. Jensen,
Aye.
Mr. Mullenhour,
Aye.
Mr. Morrow,
Aye.
Mr. Wells.
Aye.
Madam Chairman?
Aye.
Madam Chairman, you have 8 ayes.
The ayes have it and the motion is approved. Item D.
Okay, thank you. Due to the passage of TISA, this item proposes changes to the court-ordered day treatment facilities rule, Section 0520-01-15-.05, to remove specific references to the Basic Education Program, or BEP. The State Board staff will hold a rulemaking hearing between first and final readings to collect public feedback. The department prepared a fiscal analysis of this rule change proposed to the State Board and determined that it has no financial impact on an LEA. The Department of Education recommends acceptance of this item on first reading. The State Board of Education staff concurs with this recommendation. I'm happy to take any questions.
Questions, comments? Is there a motion to approve this item?
Bob Eby, so moves.
Mr. Eby provides the motion. Is there a second?
This is Jordan Mullenhour, second.
Mr. Mullenhour provides the second. Mr. Griffin, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Cobbins,
Aye.
Mr. Darnell, Mr. Eby,
Aye.
Mr. Holt,
Aye.
Mr. Jensen,
Aye.
Mr. Mullenhour,
Aye.
Mr. Morrow,
Aye.
Mr. Wells.
Aye.
Madam Chairman?
Aye.
Madam Chairman, you have 8 ayes.
The ayes have it and the motion is approved. Moving to item E.
Thank you. Due to the passage of TISA, this item proposes changes to the Education Savings Accounts Rule, sections 0520-01-16-0.04, 0.06, and 0.10 to remove specific references to the basic education program. State Board staff will hold a rulemaking hearing between first and final readings to collect public feedback. The department prepared a fiscal analysis of this proposed change and determined that the item has no financial impact on an LEA. The Department of Education recommends acceptance of this item on first reading. The State Board of Education staff concurs with this recommendation. I'm happy to take any questions.
Are there questions or comments? Is there a motion to approve item E?
Warren Wells, make motion to approve.
Mr. Wells provides the motion to approve. Is there a second?
Morrow, second.
Mr. Morrow provides the second. Mr. Griffin, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Cobbins,
Aye.
Mr. Darnell, Mr. Eby,
Aye.
Mr. Holt,
Aye.
Mr. Jensen,
Aye.
Mr. Mullenhour,
Aye.
Mr. Morrow,
Aye.
Mr. Wells.
Aye.
Madam Chairman?
Aye.
Madam Chairman, you have 8 ayes.
The ayes have it and the motion is approved. Next item is item F.
Thank you. Due to the passage of TISA, this item proposes changes to the Continuous Learning Plans Rule, section 0520-01-17-0.02, to remove specific references to the basic education program. State Board staff will hold a rulemaking hearing between first and final reading to collect public feedback. The department prepared a fiscal analysis of the proposed rule change and determined that there was no fiscal impact on an LEA. The Department of Education recommends acceptance of this item on first reading. The State Board of Education staff concurs with the recommendation. Are there any questions?
Hearing none, is there a motion to approve this item?
So move, Daryl Cobbins.
Mr. Cobbins provides the motion. Is there a second?
Bob Eby seconds.
Mr. Eby provides a second. Mr. Griffin, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Cobbins,
Aye.
Mr. Darnell, Mr. Eby,
Aye.
Mr. Holt,
Aye.
Mr. Jensen,
Aye.
Mr. Mullenhour,
Aye.
Mr. Morrow, Mr. Morrow,
Aye.
Mr. Wells.
Aye.
Madam Chairman?
Aye.
Madam Chairman, you have 8 ayes.
Thank you. The ayes have it and the motion is approved. Next item, item G.
Thank you. Due to the passage of TISA, this item proposes changes to the Residential Mental Health Facilities Rule, sections 0520-01-20, .02, 0.05, and 0.06 to remove specific references to the basic education program. The State Board staff will hold a rulemaking hearing between first and final reading to collect public feedback. The department has prepared a fiscal analysis of this proposed rule change and determined that there is no financial impact on an LEA. The Department of Education recommends acceptance of this item on first reading, and the State Board of Education staff concurs with the recommendation. Are there any questions?
Hearing none, is there a motion to approve item G?
This is Jordan Mullenhour, so moved.
Mr. Mullenhour provides the motion. Is there a second?
Warren Wells, second.
Mr. Wells provides the second. Mr. Griffin, please call the roll.
Mr. Cobbins,
Aye.
Mr. Darnell, Mr. Eby,
Aye.
Mr. Holt,
Aye.
Mr. Jensen,
Aye.
Mr. Mullenhour,
Aye.
Mr. Morrow,
He said
Mr. Wells.
but you couldn't hear him. He did say aye.
Got it.
Aye.
Mr. Wells,
Aye.
Madam Chairman?
Aye.
Madam Chairman, you have 8 ayes.
Thank you. The ayes have it and the motion is approved. Thank you very much, Ms. Marianne Dursky. We appreciate you being here with us today and presenting these items. And we'll move on to our last agenda item, which is H, Ms. Angie Sanders.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Angie Sanders, General Counsel for the State Board of Education, and I'm presenting to you this afternoon on first reading a new policy titled Category 2 and 3 Private School Accrediting Agencies. Tennessee Code Annotated 496-3001 requires every child residing in Tennessee between the ages of 6 and 17 to attend a public or non-public school. Non-public schools are defined in law as including private schools, church-related schools, and independent home schools. At the October 2022 board meeting, this board approved revisions to the State Board of Education rules governing non-public schools. Revisions to those rules require that the list of Category 3 private school accrediting agencies be moved out of rule and into this newly created policy, as the names of those agencies change often and are best suited to be included in a policy rather than a rule. Additionally, we are proposing that this policy also lists the Category 2 private school accrediting agencies that are approved by the State Board, as this list is not contained anywhere in policy currently. With that, Madam Chair, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there questions or comments for Ms. Sanders?
Madam Chair, Bob Eby.
Yes, Mr. Eby.
And Angie, maybe you don't know the answer to this at this point in time, but you indicated that one of the things is that these agencies change names quite often. Is there a reason for that? Is that because they combine, or is that because they lose their qualifications and some other agency comes in, or why is there that change?
So happy to try to answer that. Mr. Morrow may be able to shed a little bit more light on this than maybe I can, but my understanding is, yes, they often merge with other agencies, and that's what we've seen. If you read the policy, you'll see that we've tried to list some of the former names because a lot of times they do sometimes get referred to by their old names. But yes, that's from my understanding what happens often.
And, Madam Chair,
Yes. Yes,
Oh,
Mr. James.
it's, you know, one of the things to remember is that these accrediting agencies are specifically non-governmental, right? It is, it's the same way in higher education. They band together and in order to set sort of minimum standards for what the individual accreditor will go after. And sometimes it's a matter of they add a state or a geographical area changes, or their board gets a wild idea. But yeah, it is something that happens, but it's not because a government mandates it. One of the ways that they've been able to preserve themselves from too much sort of direct influence from, say, the individual legislatures of the states that they serve is to be kind of a self-policing, self-governing entities. So I don't know if that helps or not, but they have always, the names have changed slightly with some frequency.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr. Mullenhour.
Thank you. I had checked in with one of the stakeholders listed in this document and just asked for their feedback, and they were supportive. They thought it was helpful just for clarification purposes, and the arguments for it certainly make sense. My only question is directed at Mr. Morrow, who is in that space and knows many of the stakeholders. Nathan, do you have any feedback, any questions, any reservations on this, or do you give it a thumbs up?
You're on mute, I believe. Yep, something's wrong with the sound, obviously. These
He's
things
giving a thumbs up, though.
Yes.
All right, we'll take that as a thumbs up then. Thank you. Thank you, Nathan.
Okay. Other comments? Is there a motion to approve this item?
Jordan Mullenhour, so moved.
Mr. Mullenhour provides the motion. Is there a second?
Second. Darrell Cobbins.
Mr. Cobbins provides the second. Any further discussion? Mr. Griffin, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Cobbins,
Aye.
Mr. Darnell, Mr. Evie,
Aye.
Mr. Holt,
Aye.
Mr. Jensen,
Aye.
Mr. Mullenhour,
Aye.
Mr. Morrow,
Aye. That works?
Mr.
That
Wells.
worked.
There you go.
Aye.
Madam Chairman?
Aye.
Madam Chairman, you have 8 ayes.
Thank you. The ayes have it and the motion is approved. Thank you very much, Ms. Sanders. We are at the end of the agenda. And I do want to just say that our next meeting, our next quarterly meeting is February the 10th in Nashville. And I know we're getting ready to go into the holiday season. I know it started a lot for other people already, parties, etc. I hope you all stay very well during the holiday season, and I wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Is there any closing comments before we officially adjourn from anyone else? We're glad to see Dr. Morrison with us here today. We know that you've been with your father, and we're certainly praying for him and wishing him a speedy recovery. With that, and without objection, we are officially adjourned. Thank you all very much. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.